Titanfall 2 is a bad game. All right, greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop, episode 30, a video game podcast created by three people who are sick of listening to other video game podcasts. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by two other hosts, the first of which is Scott. Scott, defend the Imperial system. Defend it. You're tasked with the job of defending why we use it in this country.
Because probably of politics and
Okay.
our refusal to move forward in mathematics.
Better than I could have done. Better than I could have done.
That's off the cuff.
All right. That's our boy Scott there. Our third host over there is Thick. Thick, I have a question for you. Thick
Yes.
is waving.
Yes.
Thick, tell the listeners how 1993's Jurassic Park impacted your life.
What's that question?
It's a
yeah.
softball.
I feel like you should have switched
Man.
it. Because, to be honest, I didn't watch the original. I watched The Lost World.
You started. Wait, Lost World was the
Whoa.
last one.
I think that's the second one, right? Where,
The
where they go
Lost
to
World
California.
is that's
That's
two.
yeah.
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 Okay.
So,
Yeah, that was not good.
No.
yeah, it was okay.
The book was better. Yeah.
I watched it a little bit later, so I watched it afterwards, so my impression was a little bit different. But
Yeah.
the one I always think about in that one is when, was it the T-Rex, or I forget the exact thing, but where they peel back the car, right? And then he grabs the person. Unless I'm
Mhm.
thinking about the wrong one. Yeah, that's what I always think about. And then there's also the Velociraptor one. I think I'm thinking about the right movie, right?
Well, were the
they're in all of
Velociraptors
them.
were the Raptors talking to each other? Because they started talking to each other in
They're-
the third
the
one.
kids are in the kitchen, right? And then like it's just like
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
the
that
first one. Yeah.
that's the first one.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
Those are the two things that I think about when I think about Jurassic Park.
You guys, I won't say either of you hit a home run, but you got on base.
Oh, you gave us
Yeah.
some curveballs.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So Scott, why don't you tell us how your week went?
My week went fine. I did get a chance to look at the Steam Fest, the Next Fest, and this is where they showcase a lot of indie games and they produce a lot of demos. So so whatever they're showing, you're actually getting a demo of. So because of some renovations in my home that were quite unexpected, I got to play a couple of things. Shadows of Doubt, which is like a pixelated noir detective story.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it is another game that starts in your apartment and you can't get out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, isn't 12
Yeah.
minutes like that? Yeah. that's
Yeah,
what I'm
like
thinking
a
about.
lot of games I'm seeing, like Prey. Prey was like that. It's like, hey, here's your apartment. Here's the front door. It is locked, and you have no way of getting out. Please stop doing that, developers. That's anyway. So it kind of turned me off to that. I did play the new System Shock demo, which again is a game that I'm really interested in. And guess what? You start in your apartment and you can't get out until you do this one thing.
Did that turn you off, or?
It didn't, because it was obvious, more obvious of what to do.
Yeah.
And it was really quick. It's like once you find that thing, it just starts rolling. So I got a chance to play it. That's coming out, I believe, in March. So it looks very polished. Played some Dark and Darker. This play test has been a little off. It's a little more difficult than the other ones, especially playing solo. It is. It's a little. You spawn in maybe like right in front of an enemy that you would not encounter much later in the game. So you die instantly, and you do that repeatedly. They have fixed a couple of things, so I'm going to check it out. It ends tomorrow. The playtest is over tomorrow, so I'm going to hopefully get in it tomorrow morning and see if they fixed some more things. But it's still a game I'm interested in. And then also, which is kind of unrelated, I played the Forspoken demo on PC. I had really no issues performance-wise with it. I don't know what a lot of people are talking about. I used the default settings frame rate was anywhere from 60 to 70, and that game is incredibly boring. And that's pretty much it.
Explain to us why it was boring. What was boring you about it?
Imagine an open world that looks basically just like Montana.
Yeah.
That has nothing in it but enemies standing there waiting for you to interact with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, kind of think Horizon, but the enemies are just basically just walking in a circle, like they have they're not even grazing, they're not even doing anything. They just stand there, and then you come across them, and
Okay.
The banter with the character, her armband or whatever, I didn't mind so much. I mean, it's it's not great writing, but it wasn't terrible. But it did remind me of Anthem. Did you guys play Anthem?
No.
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah. Okay. And you had the character that's back at the base that kind of he's like
I know
Jarvis.
what you're thinking now. Yeah.
Right.
His voice maybe it's the same voice actor.
It sounds very similar.
Yeah.
And the interactions that they have are very similar. And then the world is very similar. And it's kind of equally as boring. So it's almost like it's Anthem. It's basically Anthem.
Oh no, I think Anthem is actually more fun than the demo.
Yeah, I would say, well, with the demo, I don't want to say, I'm not stamping a review score on it or anything. Yeah, if I played the Anthem beta, if I put those two together, I would say Anthem is more interesting. But that's not giving it a compliment.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that Anthem reveal? How everyone's jaws were on the floor after
walking
that
through the
reveal.
market. Yeah.
And then it just didn't end up that way.
Yeah, that's when BioWare knew that they had a lot to live up to and couldn't do it.
That's when they picked the name 3 days before that demo was made. Like they didn't even have a name for the game. Yeah, they were going to call it something else, and they changed it at the last minute.
Do you guys remember what was their game prior to Anthem? Were they on that hot streak? Was it Mass Effect 3
No, it was Mass Effect Andromeda, and that's where they really got railed, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So people were hoping Andromeda was their B team and Anthem was their A team.
That's essentially what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andromeda was done by BioWare Austin or something of that nature.
Okay. Is it? It might be Edmonton, or maybe I have it.
No,
reversed.
That's it. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Edmonton, which is they're now just part of EA. They're just like a support developer now. They lost their keys to the studio.
I think they're working on FIFA cosmetics.
Right, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
That would make sense.
All right, well, that sounds like a fun week,
Yeah.
You played a smorgasbord of.
Yeah, I got there's more that there was a couple that just didn't work, and I wanted to kind of play more, but like I said, real
Which
life
other ones did you
ensues.
try?
There was one that was called it was like Beast something.
Mm-hmm.
You essentially brought your enemies back to life to create an army. But most of everything in it just did not work. And also played Mortal Darkness, which is kind of like a top-down game. That worked pretty well. I'll have to go back and take a look at it. I didn't mention it because I didn't really get to play it that much. But yeah, that's about it.
Did you at the end of your your play session? Did you go and buy any of these games, or you pre-order them?
Most of these games are coming soon, wish listed.
Okay.
They're not available now. System Shock with this new, I will say with this new demo, I'm not as impressed with it as I was with the last demo.
Mm-hmm.
This may be just because it's got a different starting point, but it felt different. The combat felt a little off, and the environment doesn't seem to look as good. It's kind of weird. So I don't know. I'm kind of maybe backpedaling on that a little bit.
Is this a remake of the first, or is this isn't System Shock 3, right?
No, this is a remake of the first one.
Of the first, okay.
And the developers, they're different, right? I don't know the story.
This is Night Dive Studios, and they haven't actually made a game before. They usually take older games and either remake them or put them on other platforms.
Okay.
So this is like their first actual title. And yeah, I think this change developed. Warren Spector, who made the original one, was involved in this at some point. And then he backed out of it. And then I think because they wanted to make it just like the first one, or look just like the first one, and he didn't want to do that and kind of backed out of it. So it's been a long road for those guys.
Okay. How long has this been in development? It feels like a long time.
It's been, I want to say it's almost 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's been a while.
Well, hopefully they're reaching the finish line.
Yeah, everything worked fine. It's polished. The aesthetics are really interesting looking. It's very like modern retro. It's kind of hard to explain. But yeah, go to Steam, check it out.
Yeah, I have it downloaded. I wanted to check it out earlier and talk about it, but not a chance yet.
Yeah.
Thick's playing all those JRPGs when he should.
Totally. Was it? Is it my turn? I'll tell you.
Thick.
Because I did a little bit on the Steam, the Next Fest as well. There's 2 different games I played. Ashen Knights. It's kind of like a top-down. Almost feels like Kingdoms of Amalur, but just more simplified. I think it's a roguelite, probably like Hades, closer to Hades. There's a little bit of I wouldn't say platforming, but there's like obstacles you go across. The combat feels meaty enough, but the way the demo is set, you play 2 different characters, but they didn't tell you really that it changed. Like one character, the first character felt pretty good. Like if you think like Barbarian from Diablo, probably something like that. Not as visceral, but it was good. The second character was a sword and shield type character, and I didn't like that one. It was kind of janky, but I mean, it's just what the demo is right now. So the way they kind of like changed it was kind of artsy, where it would kind of go flash in and out of the level, and then you just encounter enemies, and then like you go up to someone and you execute them. That's probably part of some sort of story. And overall, interesting enough. I'm not sure if I'd buy it, but I'll probably give it another chance, because I died too, because I was using the sword and board character and having a hard time to like one group of enemies, and I didn't get to complete the demo all the way. Other game was Meet Your Maker. I think you guys know about this one, right?
Yeah. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, you showed us this last year.
Yeah.
So basically, it's kind of like, you just go up to other people's user-made levels, and they set traps, enemy locations, and everything. I only did one of these because I wanted to check out more games, but I actually ended up not doing it. But so when this one was pretty nice, I guess, because like the way this person set up their level is around every corner there's like a trap, there's like an enemy. It took me like maybe 5-6 tries, because you could keep retrying. To really complete the level. Like you pick up, basically, it's almost like you're picking up that like that treasure at the end of like an Indiana Jones temple or something, and then you're just running out with it. There wasn't much going on the back half. They said that enemies were supposed to spawn in like a second wave, but I think the person didn't build it that way. Like the getting there was annoying, but
once you got to the end, you could get out easy.
It was smooth sailing. I thought it was creative the way he did, the entrance, but I want to give it a little bit more chance. I feel like it's not a game with a lot of longevity, but if it's just a box price, like $20, $30, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
If you can find it on sale or something.
A lot of these games, I've noticed that much like Dark and Darker and Sulaco, which is my favorite from last year. And even System Shock, they pop back up with each Next Fest, and it's a different iteration of that game. So even if you get a demo now, the next time we see it, it might be better, or it might be more polished. So you kind of get to see that, every time they have one. I think it's like every 4 to 6 months
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
noticed that. I like
Um,
that they're doing this. This
Yeah,
is nice.
yeah. It definitely spotlights some games that normally I wouldn't even know about.
Yeah, like Ashen Knights, I saw a trailer and then I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I'm downloading it now. It looks good.
Okay.
Thick, I have a question about Meet Your Maker.
Okay.
When they revealed that game in the trailer, I was like, uh-oh, here's what I didn't like about it. All the quote unquote trap templates and like all the rooms that were created, it was just like a very, you guys
It's
know
a
me,
tile,
very linear.
right? Yeah.
Well, it's a very linear hallway.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like there's not like a lot of wide open spaces in that game. Right?
You can kind of encounter pretty much like winding like pathways, I guess.
Okay.
So the thing is you do have a grappling hook, so you can grapple anywhere.
Okay.
And what's cool is the gun, at least the one I start out with, has two essentially arrows, right? So once you shoot them, you don't have them anymore. You have to go pick it up. There's some strategy with that. I think definitely if you guys have time, check it out and see how you feel about it.
Okay.
I think that was like probably the most interesting about it, like the way the weapon worked. You did also have like a melee, and that's useful when you just want to like break a trap, but I didn't use it as much.
Oh, and tell us, what is the incentive of reaching the end? What currency do you get? What's the reward?
So there's like 6 different things you can level up, and then like each one of these is a separate kind of level, right? So like you can choose a specific one to go to this. I don't know what the incentive is beyond that, like just leveling up, I guess, your base.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's some meta thing to it, kind of like Helldivers, if they have something like that. It'd be nice if they did, because I think that would make it last a little bit longer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Counter-Strike doesn't have to worry about.
Counter-Strike is safe.
Okay.
For another 20 years.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So that was your week in a nutshell.
Yeah, just like of gaming. I did do some Game Pass stuff. I didn't get too much, but I have to say, like, Game Pass has been doing a lot for me. Like, there's been a lot of games coming out. I played I think they released Gundam something.
That
Battle
Overwatch
Alliance.
Game?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Oh, that one's Gundam.
Oh, that was. Yeah, that's
think.
been on there, hasn't it?
And it's free. It's free. Anyone can play it. This one's more like kind of reminds me of Muso games, maybe not to the same mindlessness. But people say that the combat can get pretty deep. I'm not too far in it. It was nice to check out. I skipped all the cutscenes, way too much talking, but I just wanted to check out the game.
Okay, I got you. You can either go deep on one game or you can go shallow on many games.
Yeah, that's kind of like
that was my week.
This week. Yeah.
All right, guys. Can I jump into my week real quick?
Yeah.
All right, so I have something written down because I really want to make sure I say this the correct way. So do you mind if I read something off here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So guys, I have to throw you a curveball. It goes without saying that this week has been a tense week in the video game industry, right?
I would say
you might
so.
say the controversy is at an all-time high.
Right.
I personally cannot take it anymore. What I'm about to say will almost certainly end this podcast. One of you is likely not going to talk to me after this. Likely both of you are not going to talk to me after this. I'm probably putting my livelihood on the line when I say what I'm about to say.
Okay.
But it just needs to be said. I feel like, everyone's so afraid of saying this. But I finished Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is a bad game.
He just dropped the mic.
I just hang up.
That's it. I haven't heard a single person say this. Now, can I tell you a couple of reasons why I think it's a genuinely bad game?
Let us know before we tear you
Now,
apart.
wait. Before you start, you have not played this previously, right? This is your very first playthrough, 2023. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Last week, I think I played it twice. I tried. Remember like that training mission where you have to get through that wall running and they like time you?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I played that and I played like half that first level. I did that twice and I was like, I can't take it. But I had my EpiPen and my inhaler this time. So I was going back and forth with both of them.
Okay.
All right. First of all, let's talk about the story, guys. So I just finished this game 2 days ago. The only thing I remember about this story is like you're some sci-fi military dude and you're like you and Optimus Prime are like best friends.
Yeah.
And He's constantly like, we got to go get the spark. And I guess you're like, yeah, let's go get the spark. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like, it's not like, Planescape Torment. You know what I mean?
Well, no. I mean, it's a first-person shooter with a 10-hour campaign, right?
Yeah.
Is it 10 hours?
It didn't feel like 10 hours to me.
6 hours ish.
It
could be wrong.
maybe a little. I'm playing through it again right now, and I don't know. I couldn't really tell you.
All right. Another point of contention. I feel like so they kind of introduced these like 6, you might call them villain titans throughout the game. You just shoot them and they die. Like there's nothing unique about them, right?
You point at their glowy spots, right?
You point at their glowy spots, but it's not like one of them that like hovers and like does a certain tactic. It's not like
but
another
you
one
can hover, right? Some of yours.
Yeah, some of yours, but I just shoot them and then they die, and then my Optimus Prime guy's like, we got to go get the spark, right? Just that over and over again. All right, here's another thing, because I think this is a big one. Okay, I think when you die in this game, it's a complete annoyance. So it's just like, okay, you've stepped into these red lasers. We're gonna send you 10 seconds back. Don't step into the lasers again. It's just, I feel like that's like an old way of like making games that I can't stand anymore.
Well, this did come out in 2016.
It did. I know it did.
So what's the option
give a little bit of?
Do you want permadeath?
Honestly,
you get to respawn.
Yeah. Right. They did have that.
Right.
I know what you mean. I feel like if you're gonna solve the issue of like, because I feel like there's no tension in that game. Like I don't care if anyone shoots me. I'm just gonna learn where they're shooting me from. 10 seconds later,
I'll give you that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're gonna fix that issue, like that has to be from like the White Room board. Like you have to start, like when you're making a game, you have to start there. You can't just be like, okay, here's the quick fix. Titanfall is fixed, right?
Right.
There's 4 enemies the whole game. There's 4 of them. There's robots. There's military dudes who constantly yell, "He's over there, get him!" Mm-hmm. Like that's their only dialogue. Then there's mini titans and there's big titans, right?
And then there's the robots that blow up. Yeah. And then there's the little drones that fly around and shoot you.
Little remember the flood guys from Halo?
Yeah.
They're kind of like
there's those dog creatures that are also in Apex.
Okay, you guys are ruining my point here. You're ruining my point. I'll edit all that stuff out of this podcast. All right, and here's another thing. My last point. No, it's not my last point. So the level design. Everyone raves about the level design of this game, right?
Okay.
And I'll admit, like a lot of the level designs are like interesting. Like when they introduce you the mechanic. Like one of the mechanics is you press a button and you like go into a different timeline, right? Mm-hmm. Which is essentially like, you go down this linear hallway, there's red lasers in front of you, press the timeline button, the lasers are gone, proceed forward. Like there's not that much unique, like what crazy stuff is happening, right?
So I think there's like a good amount of spectacle to that.
There's
it's not
spectacle
like
for sure.
Yeah. And that's part of the draw to that mission to me.
It's just puzzle solving, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to keep it probably like at a very like mild level of difficulty.
Yeah, right. It did seem like pretty easy to get through. It's not like I ever needed to really rack my brain on like how to solve a combat scenario, right?
Yeah.
But I felt like I always tell you guys, it's like there's certain games, like it's funny. I'm playing this game and I'm thinking of that. What's that Valve game that came out?
Half-Life.
No. It was the one that came out recently where it's like you're a guy and this like voiceover is talking to you and he's like saying, do you want to go in the left door or do you want to go in the right door?
Stanley Parable?
The Stanley Parable. I was like, the Stanley Parable is a game that constantly wants to show you how smart it is.
Right.
And I feel like Titanfall 2 is like, it's constantly showing you like how big the spectacle, how interesting the spectacle is. But at no point is it like, I wonder what the player's going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I can see that. But I think a little bit of it is out of context. Again, since this game has come out, you're playing through scenarios and things that other developers have done, maybe a little better. But it's just like playing the first Halo. It's like, only got 2 weapons. Well, back then you had 20 weapons. That was new.
Right.
My shield recharges, but my health doesn't. That was new. But now it's like, of course you do that. So and this is interesting though, to get a perspective of playing this game that is a beloved campaign of somebody that's never played it and played in 2023. You may be right. At this point, it may not be a good campaign.
Well, and I brought this up to you before, but there's like this game is bad. It's like I don't really care if anyone likes this game. Like, obviously, a ton of people like this game. So when I say game is bad, I'm not saying like anyone who likes this game is a bad person or a bad gamer, right? But I just know
you
like
can still
how
say
I'm
that. That's
how
fine.
I'm interacting.
Yeah, apparently that's a thing now.
I'm just like I just don't understand the hype of this.
No, I get it. Yeah.
I think it was like Colin Moriarty had a podcast, and he's like, it's the best single player campaign since Half-Life 2, right?
So I kind of agree to you. I think it was overhyped, but I also think it's still good. Like I think
it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the media probably like hyped it way too much. I thought it was good, but not like the best. Like not like sliced bread,
Okay.
But BT.
I do like BT. I love the art that they had in the game.
Art was great.
Yeah. That game was made on, they got everybody's idea together. Like everybody make an idea for a level, and they just made a game out of it. And everybody's like, I want a Titanfall 3. I don't think you could do that again. And then those aren't really selling that well either. But I'll talk about that a little bit later.
I know. I guess real quick, last point. You know how like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of adults are like, I wish games were shorter.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, games were more 6 to 8 hours. And I think I already brought this up to you, but I'm like, don't you just want to buy one single player game and just have a blast with it for 1,000 hours? Like, isn't that preferable to a short game?
I don't know if I'd prefer that.
When I see Titanfall, I know it is. I guess when I see Titanfall, I'm like, well, the reason why it's 6 hours is because it wouldn't be fun for 12 hours. It wouldn't be fun for 20 hours. It wouldn't be fun for 30 hours. It's just like a nugget. It's like a,
I think some games do not need to overstay, There's other examples of this. I can't think of it right now, but I'm sure you can think of some.
Well, this was before, getting a player into a game and making them work for whatever, to lengthen that campaign so that you could sell them that time saver. Oh, you want to skip this level? $10. That's right. That was pre Assassin's Creed, Origins or whatever. So different time. I get it.
I guess we're gonna talk about this maybe a little bit at the end of the podcast too. So I can when we're talking, I can think of other things I didn't like about the game. All
right,
and I'll try to spew them on you at the end.
Okay.
All right, let's get to the drop before this becomes a 3.5 hour podcast.
Yeah.
Scott, what did you have for us? Obviously, the drop is the part of the podcast that we talk about the news stories that interested us, right?
Well, this is no big surprise. I should probably start this by saying I did get Hogwarts Legacy. Mm-hmm. I am currently playing it, and it is fantastic. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I mean, I've seen all the movies. I didn't read any of the books or anything, but to make and we talked about this too previously about making a game with an IP that's already well established. Some games can do it. Some games just miss the mark. This nails it. This absolutely nails it. Everybody that's talking about it, that's enjoying it, is genuine. Unfortunately, the media is not so kind to this. And there was a review that came up on Wired. Now, Wired's been around for a while, and up to I think about 5 or 6 years ago, if you were in Wired, you made it. Like if you were in the industry and you had an interview in Wired, that was like, that you're
a big deal.
You're on top.
Yeah,
right.
Same with Forbes. I would
exactly.
Say.
Yeah. If you own a business and you're in Forbes, it's like, you're going to put that on your wall in your office. Now, not so much. So they put out a review of Hogwarts Legacy and gave it a 1 out of 10. And I just want to read you. This is the synopsis. I'm not going to read the whole article, obviously. The article, and you can go read it, wired.com. The person that reviewed it has never written that I could find a game review. Mm-hmm. So what they didn't like about it is, quote unquote, the story is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes. The gameplay feels dated. The graphics feel like they're a couple generations behind. All the characters are one-dimensional. It doesn't stay true to the established lore. Every character feels like an off-brand version of the characters we know and love. There's no sense of place, no magic, no heart. They give no examples of these whatsoever in the article. The article is more about how they feel about this game. So, okay, so let's flip that over to an IGN review. And I can't believe that I'm even talking about an IGN review, but they have a little snippet in the middle of their review of this game, which they gave 9 out of 10, by the way. And I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just read the bottom part here. It says, as critics, our job is to answer the question of whether or not we find Hogwarts Legacy to be fun to play and why. Whether it's ethical to play is a separate but still very important question. So just as in virtually all cases, we're choosing to expose and address the views of the franchise creator separately from our consideration of the work and the hundreds of game developers, and evaluate Hogwarts Legacy as it stands, leaving behind the scenes context to be considered in addition to that evaluation rather than in place of it, so that it can be weighed according to its own values. So basically what they're saying is they're kind of calling out the people that are, writing these articles about Hogwarts Legacy. And if you didn't know, obviously, the creator, J.K. Rowling, said some things about trans people that was hurtful, apparently. But what this does is it brings up the question of gaming media. How can you write a review, give it a 1 out of 10, but not cite why it's 1 out of 10? And it really just seems to be given a 1 out of 10 based on your own views of the person that created the IP of that game. That just doesn't seem right. I don't know. But this is what everybody's talking about. It's kind of blown out of control. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this? This is all over the place.
Well, I agree that we should always judge the game by its own merits, and there's no direct involvement necessarily from J.K. Rowling.
No, she just gets a check.
Yeah. So I think that it's judge it by its own merit basically, and not based on just I guess an emotional bias towards it. I think if you do feel strongly about it, do not buy the game. You're free to do that.
Absolutely. That's your prerogative. But I feel like the people in the games media are trying to make other people feel bad for playing it or reviewing it, and IGN of all people seems to kind of call them out on it. I don't know, Nate. What do you think?
Well, I feel like probably all three of us have had our issue with games media for a little while now, right?
Yeah, I think this plays upon the theme of this kind of gaming bias in one way or another,
Right. And I guess I remember, I remember getting EGM in the mail back when I was a kid, and this kind of stuff would never happen back in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? It was just strictly about the game, and it doesn't seem to be that way anymore, right? No. I guess what I'm thinking about is, so apparently on Steam charts today, the game, I think it eclipsed 800,000 players, concurrent players, which I think is kind of competing with the all-time records in terms of single player concurrent on Steam.
That's Elden Ring, right? Or
I think it's Elden Ring, or it's not 2077, right? I think it's Elden Ring. I think you're right.
And this was before it was actually released. It released as Friday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. But so, I think today, it just reached over 800,000 on Steam.
That's crazy. And the reviews for it are, I think Metacritic it's at a 92 and a user of 9.6.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty high.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about the game a little bit more. Scott, what would you compare the combat to? Is it comparable to a existing game? You could kind of pinpoint.
Not really. It would be hard to. You have you're obviously using a wand and use
Yeah.
spells. So to combat your combatants, you have to kind of counter the spell. You have a block spell, which is, if you take away the magic, it's
Mhm.
more of like a melee combat game where if you parry,
You know, I was
at
thinking
a
that.
yeah at a
Yeah.
at a certain point, then it kind of staggers them. You can do another attack or a special attack.
Yeah.
And then if they have a shield, you would do a certain attack to break their shield. So this is basically that, but it's all with magic.
And
And
ranged, right?
right.
Yeah.
And it works. I mean, it actually works. And if you watch it, it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like you're twiddling a stick around and shoot. But when you play it, it's a lot deeper and it's a lot more challenging than it looks. And it's kind of hard to convey with just watching it. Because I watched some videos of it, I'm like, that looks boring, but it's actually not.
Like, I'm not a fan of the franchise necessarily. Like, I just have a real basic interest in it. But from what I didn't even realize it was just single player because I kept mistaking it for multiplayer, right? But based on what you've told me, it kind of reminds me of maybe like a long range Arkham game almost, or like because it's WB, right? It's WB
It
that's
is.
publishing.
Yeah.
Like Shadow of Mordor, Arkham. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah. The world so far, I haven't gotten too far into it, but it looks huge. And just going around Hogwarts, you're free to just basically go anywhere. There's some places that are locked out because of your level. And by the way, this is an RPG. It's a true RPG. You create your own character. You're not assigned one. Coming from someone that's getting a little exhausted of these open world, hey, I got to talk to 20 people. For some reason, they make it feel fresh. They make it feel new. If anybody's played an Assassin's Creed, for me, playing an Assassin's Creed game, I go into it and I'm loving it and I'm liking it. And after about 20 hours, I'm like, I really want this to push further. I get really tired of the historically accurate setting. It's like they tease you with this other little bitty stuff here and there, but they never go into it. And for me, it's frustrating. With this, it's just full blown. It's like this, fantasy and magic is everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's something to explore, something to find, and that just caters to my exploration or hey, what's over there. And the story so far is actually good. It's actually engaging. The first couple of minutes in the game, it grabs you. There's not this long drawn out tutorial. You get a quick one at the beginning and then you go to class. You go and learn stuff when you go to class.
Okay.
And you meet new characters and stuff. So far I'm really enjoying it and I'm really engaged in it. And that's been hard for me to find a game that's kind of engaged me like that in a while.
That's good. Did you pay full price? Okay. Would you say it's worth the 70?
Oh no. It's on PC. It's 60.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely worth the $60. I could see putting in some time in this. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the central conflict in the game? Why is the character pursuing the goal?
So far, you are a character that's coming in later, like a fifth year, which normally you would go in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like going to a new school in say ninth grade, right?
Okay.
So the teacher that is bringing you to this school kind of tries to get you up to speed, so you're not completely lost. And you find out that you can read certain magic that other people can't. So then now you're kind of now the central focus into this story. And it's very, it doesn't try to look like the movie. It's almost like, it's not like a Harry Potter movie game. They took liberties of taking probably the literal sense of Harry Potter. But the music is very John Williams, and it plays constantly. Normally that would be, in any other game that would be annoying, but this just kind of, it makes you feel like you're actually in a Harry Potter movie without actually having that same setting. Plus, it's set very early. It's in the 1800s. It's not modern time.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Well, so how many hours are you into it right now?
I'm not sure. I didn't get it on Steam.
Five-ish.
I
more
would
or
say
less than
I would
five?
say probably about 6 hours, 6-ish.
Okay.
6 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, I want to hear you once you eclipse hour 20. All right.
Okay.
Because it sounds like this could be, Assassin's Creed, right? How you're,
Right, exactly. That's what I'm hoping that it's not going to. But
Right,
again, we're at that point where it hit Assassin's Creed where I'm like, I'm really bored with just, I know it. I'm going to go to a town. I'm going to talk to somebody. He's going to be, blah, blah, With this, you don't know. You've got this world that is very unexpected and anything can happen.
Okay. So there's side content, right? Do you think the side content is like rich with lore, or is it just kind of like filler?
So far, I have diverted from the side conflict. I mean, the side
content. Right.
Yeah, content because I want to get my broom.
Okay.
I want to fly around.
Yeah.
But after I get after I get my broom and you can fly around the grounds and everything, I'll probably start dropping into the stuff because there are people walking around. They're like doing stuff and they have an icon over their head, and yes, you can go talk to them and probably go do something. But right now it's more of just, for me, it's just leveling up and kind of getting to the story. And this, normally with an RPG, you want to do that side stuff because sometimes it's better. But with this, I'm so engaged in the story, I'm like really pushing into the story to that next event because it's really good.
Okay.
Story's got to be good with RPGs.
It's got to be good. I mean,
integral.
The place, the characters, and the story. If you nail all of those, what do we says like if this game doesn't get good until 30 hours. No, if you can get me in the first hour of that game, I'm probably buckled in for the long haul, and it absolutely does.
Fick, where are you on this? Are you interested in this game?
I'm surprised by the reviews, so that kind of gets me interested. I probably
positive,
will.
Right?
Yeah, I'll probably wait a little bit. I feel like this is one of those games where it will make you interested in rewatching the movies. You know how like The Last of Us is like the opposite, right? It makes you want to play the game.
Yeah.
Or for some people, right? Yeah. So I feel like this is kind of helping people watch the movie.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Well, I look forward to Scott's future updates on this. I want to see if the momentum maintains.
Yeah, I think with more of its popularity, all the other stuff that's going on with it will go away. It's not, some of these people are just being so hateful. They're becoming what they are, complaining about. So but don't go to Wired and read their review.
Well, let me defend Wired here. I feel like that Wired review got traffic. It got people talking.
Oh, it absolutely did.
Yeah, but at what cost?
Not in a way. And to quote Tom Henderson, who is actually one of the few game journalists that I actually like, he says, if Hogwarts Legacy has done anything, it's proved why written games media journalism, in quotes, is dying and why hardly anyone trusts them or their opinion anymore. Done. So so it's fun. Go play it. Don't feel bad.
Yeah. All right. Very, very good. Very good. Well, Thick, let's move on from this Harry Potter talk and let's find out what interested you in terms of the news this week.
Should I go first or should you go first? Because I'm feeling like I'm feeling like the financial report is more important, and then it will lead into what we're talking about.
All right, should I go? I'm gonna start with that Wayfinder Games. That game, and then I'll go to the Nintendo thing. So a new studio popped up, and as I was typing this up, I was like, I can't do this anymore because this is gonna come to fruition in 2034.
Right. Yeah.
This news story, the apocalypse is already gonna happen by that time.
Oh yeah.
So all right, but anyway, so apparently there's a new studio in Northern Europe that popped up called the Wayfinder Games. The studio was formed in 2020. Currently, it's an 18-person studio that hopes to grow to 30. So that's the kind of size we're looking at right now. The team is filled with ex-DICE employees with a lot of multiplayer experience.
That always piques interest.
Mhm.
That's true. That's
Our
true.
graders.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And so they did. There's been a kind of a public spiel from the founders, and I feel like there's some choice quotes I'd like to run through with you guys. So these a couple of the founders said the following: we have chosen to go into a genre that hasn't maybe seen as much innovation as we would hope. Pretty much all of us have worked at AAA, where the fan base doesn't really want innovation; they want familiar, they want what they are used to from.
Which
other
genre do you know?
I think it's going to be the RPG genre. Well, maybe it's just AAA in general.
Battle
Right.
Royale.
All right. All right. All right.
Okay.
Gonna let that slide.
Mhm.
Innovation is difficult because it's slow. It means we will test things and we will fail a lot, and we need to learn from those failures and build something that's great out of that. Getting everyone into a mental state where failing is fun and part of the job, part of our success, I think, is the biggest challenge. But it's really fun. They go on to say, it's hard to look at our track record and know what to expect. It feels like a fresh canvas. I love playing isometric RPGs like Baldur's Gate and what have you, but I'm not sure whether loving a specific piece of subgenre is enough to say, I want to make something that's better than that. They're already making a Baldur's Gate 3. There isn't a case where I want to make more of the thing that I love. So they go on to say, we are interested in a persistent worlds and MMOs, but with private servers where it's just you and your community enjoying this. It's not a massive thing with 10,000 people on a shard, whatever that means. It's your own personal Minecraft or Valheim server, game structure wise. So, it's easy to sound, all the ideals before your game is shown. It sounds great on paper, but I guess, we have to wait 3 years before we kind of see the first CGI trailer of this game, right?
I guess it depends on the scale of what they're trying to build.
Well, it sounds like 30 people team is not the largest. But then on the other side, it's like Valheim is made by 5 people, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think you can say that much about team size and what they can do, right?
Yeah.
But I guess other than that, Scott, do you have anything to say about that? Are they saying the right stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I like that they're really candid and transparent about what they want to do, or the lack of what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of exciting to see the birth of something that might end up being really cool in the indie scene. But yeah, I like the idea of having your own server.
Yeah.
And DayZ does that. You can get on somebody's server. And when I did play DayZ, a friend of mine, we would create our own server, and we would just play on that server. So there was nobody else on the server. So you kind of eliminate that PvP aspect of it.
Right.
And of course it was still just as brutal, but I like that. I like the idea of that, and kind of giving the reins over to the player to create what they want and how they want to play it.
Yeah. I think it would be fascinating. I think I told you guys this before. It'd be fascinating to have, a 3-month server where essentially the same 10 players, you're bumping into them throughout those 3 months, and you're kind of talking and interacting. I feel like that's just like an unexplored concept that hopefully we're kind of trudging towards.
Yeah, it definitely cultivates more of a community.
Right.
When you're seeing the same people, especially if it's like something, where you're building a fort or something like Ark, where, you construct something, and then later when you come back to it, you're on the same server and you're, finishing the job or whatever. And to have those other people on there, that's interesting. That's almost like a weird social project.
Right.
Yeah.
That being said, it's like, we're popping this stuff into our brain right now. It's like, it's probably just going to be,
a battle royale.
It's going to be a battle royale. That's right.
Right.
That's right. All right. Well, let's jump over to, there was a Nintendo earnings report that occurred recently. I guess it was a little disappointing for Nintendo. Would you say that, Thick? But
I don't know.
When you look at the details, it's certainly not. I think a lot of people would like to be disappointed in something that's successful, right?
I think they're only disappointed when people are playing their older games. Right?
Well, I'm gonna read you guys a list of how their games are selling. It's like I am shocked at how well these games continue to sell.
Yeah.
All right, let me get through this blurb real quick. So Nintendo's earning report for the third quarter of the fiscal year ending in March 2023 has been published. This covers the 3-month period from October 1st to December 31st of last year. The Nintendo Switch in that 3-month time frame sold 8.23 million units of hardware and 76.7 million units of software, bringing the lifetime total sales of the Switch to 122 million units.
Which beats what does that beat? Like, is it PlayStation everything or?
I don't know if it's approaching the PS4. I think it's approaching the PS4. It could. Maybe it just eclipsed it. I'm not sure.
It might have.
Yeah, it might have. It might have. Year over year, quarter 3 hardware sales are 23% down from 10.6 million from last year during the same time frame. Software sales are down 10% from the same time frame last year. In that 3-month period, 7 of their titles sold over 1 million units just in that 3-month window. That was Pokemon, both the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Bayonetta 3 only sold 1.04 million units. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold 3.6 million units. That game is still...
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you what the total unit sales on that is pretty soon.
Pretty high.
Oh, super high. Switch Sports sold 2.5 million. Splatoon 3 sold 2.2 million. Animal Crossing New Horizons, it's another massive franchise, sold 1.4 million copies. Let's see here real quick. I guess Scott, guess how many games Mario Kart 8 sold on the Nintendo Switch? Give us your best guess. Don't look it up, Scott.
When did it come out?
Let's go to our resident
17.
Nintendo specialist. 2017 it came out?
2017. And it's I'm
going to say 22 million.
Oh my gosh. Let's laugh at them together. Ridiculous. Scott, it's 52 million.
What?
52.
Wow. It's kind of crazy.
All right, Scott, let's see if Scott can redeem himself here. Animal Crossing. I think it's Animal Crossing New Horizons. Guess what the total lifetime sales of that is? It's just Animal Crossing. It's not Mario Kart.
Yeah, but still, that's like...
Come on.
I'm going to say, I don't know, 60 million.
All right. Almost 41.5 million.
Okay,
right.
well,
that's still crazy.
That's insane. Like Microsoft and PlayStation are not doing these kind of numbers.
Yeah, really, what are these people on Twitter fighting over? Like Nintendo's killing everybody.
I know. Yeah. Smash Brothers sold 30 million. Breath of the Wild sold almost 30 million. Pokemon Sword and Shield sold 25 million. They just have a ton of bangers that are over 15 million. I guess that's it. Thick, what can we take from this other than that nothing stops the Nintendo train? What can we take from this? I mean,
that's all we can really say, right? Like,
that's it.
I would say Nintendo has the best IPs out of everyone. Like, they just always sell, regardless.
They do.
And it feels like Sony's kind of catching up, but they're catching up more maybe in, I guess, like in the more cinematic approach, I feel. Because, The Last of Us is doing pretty well. And I guess Spider-Man as like a film IP, So I think that's where Sony's strengths are, but Nintendo just always will be known for video games.
That counts for games sold, but if you look at it, I wonder what the production cost of Mario Kart is compared to, say, Spider-Man 2. Right,
I'm pretty sure that's pretty low.
Right. And Sony's, that's why Sony's kind of changing gears with these new studios and making more of games of service approach than continuously making these very expensive 5-year games that only sell so many. That's not sustainable, I don't think, or else they would keep doing it apparently. But
and Sony games drop in price pretty quick. Well,
they do, and Nintendo's don't, like, ever.
Yeah.
Like if you go buy Breath of the Wild right now, it's $60.
$40 on sale.
you can sometimes get it on sale, but typically, I mean, I don't see those on sale much at all. Yeah. And now they've raised the new one, Tears of the Mountain. Is that right? Tears of the Kingdom. $70. Yeah.
And we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I know. When you go to the airport, every kid under the age of 12 years old has 2 switches dangling from his pants. I know, like, right? 2. It's not 1 anymore.
One in his pocket. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So when you go out in the public, man, it's definitely a family console, right?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
You know, what's it? My brother-in-law, who's around his 50s, he's playing Breath of the Wild right now. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
First time.
Good.
Okay.
It's a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely better than Titanfall 2. Definitely.
Okay.
Let's go.
You're just trying to start action here.
I know.
I
He's poking a bear over here.
Yeah.
All right. So Thick, does that bleed into your news story this week?
Yeah. I mean, if we think that Nintendo was doing good, well, they were doing okay last year. This year is probably going to be pretty good. I think the Nintendo Direct was on, was it the 8th of this week? And I thought it was pretty good. Did you guys watch it yet? I forget.
Oh, I watched it.
Watched
it.
all
Now,
some of it, yeah.
We have to have a disclaimer. So people who can't see the podcast right now, Thick is wearing a shirt. I think that's the Zelda a crest right on that.
You
on your
did
shirt?
catch that. I didn't wear this on purpose. It was just kind of like super
in the
close.
rotation.
Yeah, in the rotation.
Okay, I gotcha. So when you say it was pretty good, I think I had slightly more negative reaction to it than.
Well, okay, I want to see what do you guys rate it?
Well, Nate, there was less cooking games.
Yeah, less cooking games.
Yeah,
but they didn't tone down on the
or farming
JRPGs.
games.
Farming.
Yeah.
It was farming games.
Yeah.
Farming games. Yeah.
That's right. I guess I would give it. I guess it's all relative to expectation. I'd give it a C+. Just because I was expecting to be blown away, and I didn't get that. I didn't get the blown away feeling. Scott, what about you?
Yeah, I would say I'd say probably C, right in the middle. I mean, I kind of saw what I expected, except for Metroid was kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
But again, not having a Switch, it doesn't really hit me the same way that it does Thick. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like as a Nintendo fan, like what I saw, probably I'd give it an A-. I give it an A-.
Okay.
The key things I would just like kind of point out on it, it was like 43 minutes long, but there was like rarely any filler. There wasn't any like developer talk. It just kept shooting out trailers.
Tight. It's a tight 43 minutes. Yeah.
They know how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Pikmin 4, which is on my list the most anticipated.
No,
games.
I want to stop you.
What?
I was excited because I'm like, I do a podcast with Thick. Thick knows Nintendo. Thick is excited for Pikmin 4. It's Pikmin 4.
Pikmin, whatever.
When I saw that, I'm instantly like, I need to go on a campaign about Minecraft Legends with Thick because I gotta get him to come over to the good, the.
I'm gonna play both. All
right.
But
okay. But honestly, when I was seeing Pikmin 4, I was shocked at how like unappealing it looked. So Thick, tell me why it was unappealing to me.
No. You tell me why it was unappealing.
I don't know. I just feel like the one thing I was noticing in that is like everything is very readable, right? Like you can very clearly tell they're on this brown dirt and there's, X number of Pikmin following this dude around, right? Yeah. I know when I see Minecraft Legends, it's like I'm having a seizure. Like I don't understand anything that's going on in Minecraft Legends.
And that's how you like your games, not understanding it.
Not when I say it out loud, it doesn't sound as good as
I kind of get.
Does it sound like an argument?
Yeah.
I would say so Pikmin, the original Pikmin was one of my first games on GameCube, so that's probably why I'm excited for it. And I would say like the original one was very basic. Like it's really like a 3-5 hour game if you really want to just play through once, right? And they keep kind of adding to it. I think this will definitely be their best selling one so far.
Is this a real-time strategy game?
I would say the way I would phrase it, strategy adventure game.
Oh, strategy adventure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like you control the Pikmin, you have different units. Originally in the first game there was 3, then they added 2 more in 2, and they added I think maybe 2 more in 3. And in this one they add the ice one, which kind of has cool mechanic. Like in the original one, if you threw red ones in the water, they drown. But in this one, you could throw the ice one, and it turns the whole lake into ice, and you can walk across it. So these little elements that they add, they're not big. They're kind of iterative, but if you like the franchise, you will like this probably.
I'm going to ask you one more question about this. So there comes a time in a real-time strategy game where the player has to make a choice. Yeah. And the player has to be like, should I do this or should I do this? what is the choice you're making in Pikmin?
So
Is it like
you do have.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you do have a limit of how many units you could do, and that's probably part a hardware limitation. But they use that to kind of like, kind of control what you will do, how you will approach the game. In the original game, there was a time limit, and like each day, like when it reaches night, you can't go out at night because the animals or whatever creatures will get to you.
Yeah.
Which it looks like they changed in this game. It looks like there's an actual night mode now. So if like you're a fan of the series, that's like big news for you. But it probably won't hit the same for people that haven't played the franchise, right?
Okay.
So you're kind of fighting against the clock in some ways, but then you're also trying to maximize, any
your team composition. It's like I got to get 10 black Pikmin, I got to get 14 blue, and this is gonna allow me to kind of go put my prints on the world out there.
Kind of, yeah, because like you're also like you're having them pick up stuff around the world, and I don't know if they're gonna be used for currency or like you're building something, but you will need different Pikmin to kind of do it. Sometimes it's in the water, you need blue Pikmin. That's a very simple example. Sometimes there's like a lot of puzzle solving, so you need a different variety. So if you kind of approach some situations one way, it's not going to work. And I mean, there's different ways to approach it. And in the first game, it was all about just kind of minimizing the amount of time. You had 30 days to complete the game, like in-game time. But if you completed it at a certain time, like maybe 15 days, you'll get like maybe a special ending. Or if you do it without killing any Pikmin, that's not an actual like secret ending, but I'm just giving you an example. Like you can try to like not have a 0 death run or like things like that. But yeah, I feel like if you guys get a chance, give it a try and then see how you feel about it. Because otherwise, I could keep going on about it. So regardless, the next big kind of game that they showed, well, let's talk about. There was a few minor things. There was Splatoon 3 DLC, because Splatoon sold a lot for the time frame. It didn't look that good. It looks like the first DLC is like the first overworld in the first Splatoon game, so I don't think that's good DLC. But they did show like this later DLC that looks pretty cool, like an artsy kind of blank canvas, which will be good because you're playing with paint in that one. So
that's right.
Very minor. They showed off a new entry to the Fantasy Life series. It's not a big franchise by any means, but if you know Level 5 did the Ni no Kuni games. So it's very artsy, but this one is probably kind of similar to an Animal Crossing type game. So I'm interested to see how this one develops. It's like Animal Crossing, and then you get to play different classes, and that includes also like chefs, miners, and like different, like really, like kind of tradesmen kind of classes. So that's the kind of game it is. The next major one I would say was the Metroid Prime reveal. So as I think I mentioned before, it's my number one game, and
of all time, right?
Of all time, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So what was your reaction?
I was pretty happy. I didn't even realize it was so like massaged. Like everything's like new assets almost. They're missing some things because like there's like this mirror in the original game. If you go up to it, you can kind of see your reflection. And back in 2002, that was like amazing. But that Easter egg is not in this one supposedly. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I have not played it yet.
Wait, this was shadow dropped, right?
It was shadow dropped. So I think this was a great way to drum up hype for Metroid. I think Metroid's going to have a renaissance this year. So
cool.
Wait, so you think we're going to see some Metroid Prime 4 eventually this year?
I really hope so. Because they also had another announcement. Is basically adding Game Boy Advance games to their online service. Pretty much like PS Plus or Game Pass. Like you can play Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games.
Okay.
The one that people have been clamoring for is Metroid Fusion, which, by the way, Metroid Fusion and Prime released on the same day back in 2000.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Fusion is the side scroller.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's more linear than most of the Metroids, but a lot of people really like it. I liked it. It was okay to me, but I like Prime more.
Thick, what is the best-selling Metroid game of all time?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Because this
It could be Dread. It's Dread. I think it's Dread.
Wait,
Really?
is that the Ninja Team Ninja one?
No, that's the new one on Switch.
Oh, the new
I think
one. Okay,
anything on Switch is just gonna make big numbers.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
true. Because there's like 60 billion out there.
Yeah.
I know at some point in my travels I've looked at like lists of like the best selling Metroid games. I'm shocked at how low these games sell.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
Nintendo's
not
like,
big
this is-
sellers.
Right.
Big fandom, not a big seller.
Right. It's like what do you call it? What do you call it? Like prestige. It's you're in it for like
Cult
the
classic kind of
cult
thing.
classic. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I can't really remember what else peaked, but the main course is of course Tears of the Kingdom, and then to be
Yes.
honest, I would say I'm more interested in Pikmin 4 right now because like the Tears of the
really?
Kingdom one,
Uh-huh.
it just they added like sky elements, but it's not giving me enough. Like it doesn't have the same feel as Breath of the Wild because it's not as new, right?
Right.
And from what I understand,
Well, it's on the aging hardware as well.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody was kind of hoping that they would release this with a new Switch 2 or Switch Pro, or
Yeah.
and that's not happening.
That's definitely not happening this year. The Pro,
No.
maybe 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we're on year 6 right now, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
2017. Yeah,
it would be
6.
this March.
Soon. We'll have a year 6 celebration on this channel.
Wait a second. We gotta hunker down on this Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
Because when I'm watching this, 3 letters are coming to my mind. Thick. You know what 3 letters I'm talking about, right? These 3 letters were labeled at a Sony game recently.
God
Big
of War.
PlayStation. Yeah. So what do people call God of War? DLC, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like this. I'm like, is this a DLC pack for Breath of the Wild?
It kind of feels like it, and
Yeah.
given how long it's been, was it? Yeah, since like the reveal of the Switch, like
Right.
I would say like it's not piquing my interest as much as Pikmin 4 right now.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, what are your guys' opinions on it so far? Just like looking at that trailer.
I kind of feel like it's DLC. I think it's just a continuation. It typically, that next Zelda game is like a reinvention of Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And this is like an actual sequel, which is not something they typically do. So I don't know. I like the first one. It wasn't. I kind of feel I'm kind of like Nate with Titanfall 3. I didn't think it or Titanfall 2. I didn't think it was. I don't think it was as good as everyone told me it was going to be. Right.
Yeah.
So this one doesn't. It just looks like the same game with new stuff.
Yeah. You guys, you guys know which game is overrated to me, right?
Which Zelda game?
No, just in general.
Which game? What?
Witcher 3.
Oh, Witcher 3 is your game?
So we all have different ones.
That hot take on a popular game.
I guess for me, because like I'm not in the Nintendo ecosystem. Like I didn't have an N64. I had GameCube briefly, but I know when I played Breath of the Wild, when you're introduced to like the Nintendo music and the art style, you're kind of like this feels like it almost feels like not kids art, but like this weird artistic thing that like only Nintendo can do. Like I don't even view like Pixar that way. Like it feels like mature in a way that's it's difficult to explain, right? But when I see Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, oh, it's just that. Like I don't feel like I'm stepping into a brand new world again, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think we'll get that same feeling that people got with Breath of the Wild.
Right.
And by the way, Breath of the Wild is not my number 1 Zelda game. It is Majora's Mask, which was kind of like the sequel to Ocarina of Time in some ways because it's like reused assets, but it's recontextualized in a way that's way different.
Well, when I'm watching this trailer, I did think, I'm like, oh, this is a little bit like Majora's Mask from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. Like it's a darker feel. It feels like it's using a lot of the same assets, right?
Yeah.
But so when's this coming out?
May 12th.
Yeah.
May 12th. We're gonna see this game again sometime between
definitely
between now and then. I don't think they're gonna have the hook. I don't think there's a hook. I think it's more Breath of the Wild. Do you agree, or
I-
are you
I thi-
hoping? Are you
Yeah,
You
hoping?
think
I
it will
think
break
it is.
records at least? I think it will still break records at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to make
Um,
them $10 extra.
Mhm.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess this was disappointing for me because I'm like, when you guys know I couldn't stand Forbidden West, and I'm like, well, at
Yeah.
least we have like Nintendo working on like a proper open world game where we're gonna show them, and then this just left me with a little, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be
Well,
good. It's gonna be a good game.
if you kind of flip it around, maybe there's some gripes that a lot of people had with the first one where, and same one I had is that, you use a stick twice and it breaks. You use a sword 3 times and it breaks. And
Yeah.
that was a gameplay mechanic that was supposed to make it challenging
Yeah.
but it really just made it annoying. Things like that. If they fix those things that were not so great about Breath of the Wild, and then add some more things that, put that little Nintendo flair on it.
Yeah,
It may just be a better version of Breath of the Wild.
which is
What some
which is
people want,
fine.
I guess, right?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I did see they added like this building mechanic. Did you guys see that? Where it's like kind of putting together different things to make like a
Mhm.
vehicle. I was, some people like that. Some people did that with the original game with some creativity. But I that doesn't. It's like the building in Fallout 4. I did not really care that much.
Yeah,
about it.
I didn't either.
But
I
this
did more
building
demo.
Yeah.
is this building just strictly with the vehicle? Is there
I'm not
building,
sure.
Not
that
sure.
they don't really explain in this one. I'm sure they're gonna have another direct that's just the game, maybe in March.
Right. Yeah, I guess it was also a pretty short trailer too. It was like just
Yeah.
over 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, I was surprised the amount of voiceover in it. Like there was a lot of voices in this trailer. Like usually
Yeah.
there's not that much.
And that's another thing that I was surprised Scott didn't bring up. I feel like that trailer when it started, there was a voice actor. I don't know what he was narrating, but it didn't give me a great feel. It felt a little like, this is Nintendo. What is this guy? He doesn't sound great.
Yeah, that's Nintendo for you.
That's
They
Nintendo,
aren't really
okay.
known for VA, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll definitely be talking about this one down the road a bunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that your only news story, or were there any other bits of information to glean from this Nintendo Direct?
From this direct, no.
Yeah.
But I did want to share one thing.
Yeah, hit us.
What was it on PlayStation's Instagram? They did mention that there might be a PlayStation commercial at the Super Bowl.
So where did this information come from?
I feel like I gotta find it. It seems like their Canadian page, surprisingly. It was like
Oh, really?
PlayStation CA. I don't know. Yeah, but it said like Winter is coming to the Super Bowl. So I'm curious if it's, maybe like a God of War like trailer
DLC.
for the show or
Yeah,
DLC.
yeah.
Yeah.
DLC for the DLC.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
But,
know a
I'm
while ago someone tweeted at some God of War developer, and they're like, is any DLC in the works? And he's like, no, this is, I think we're gonna move on after this. But maybe that was like remember when David Jaffe said that about Twisted Metal, and then he did the big reveal at E3. Yeah, so maybe it's a little misdirection.
Oh yeah. PlayStation Canada's Facebook and Instagram account.
All right. Well, I guess that's better than all of the mobile ads that you usually see during the Super Bowl, right?
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they release that one really good God of War, like God of War 3? That commercial with the live action, kind of like the daughter and wife like disappearing into ashes. Do you guys remember that one?
I don't remember that one, no.
Oh,
Sounds familiar, but I'm thinking of something else actually.
I will link it to you guys later, but
Okay.
I love that commercial despite not caring much about the original God of Wars.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Sometimes the ad campaign is better than the game.
The game.
Yeah.
That's right.
Halo 5. Anyway,
Yeah. So Thick, was that your last news story?
No last news. Let's go to rumors.
Oh, all right. We got, guys, we're like 4 weeks straight of like pretty solid rumors. So I hope you guys are excited. Okay.
yes.
Yeah, rapid fire. Let's go.
Rapid fire. Okay. Let's start with this. First of all, I'm gonna count up the rumors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rumors. That's all. This is a record for the supply drop, everyone.
Okay, start with 5.
Yeah, this is definitely number 5. The Last of Us Part 3 is in the works and is targeting PS5, PS6 platforms, according to the sketchy website, theleak.co. Say it ain't so, Scott.
I don't think it is. They've already said that they're moving on from that and working on something else. But that doesn't mean Naughty Dog is doing it. Right. I mean, let me rephrase it. That doesn't mean that another studio other than Naughty Dog is doing it.
Right. I know. So you're referring to the Neil Druckmann interview where he's like, the great thing about working with PlayStation is they allow you to be creative, and he's like, we don't necessarily.
They want to work on their live service game. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Rumor number 2. Canceled Titanfall Legends game was going to be a single-player, heavily feature Apex Legends characters who give the players new abilities. The game was going to be a mix of John Wick cross Tony Hawk in terms of gameplay. I have no idea what that means.
I'm just thinking roller champions for some reason.
Well, I think it's just the traversal and the
maybe like roller dome. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I would say that's probably true. When that back in July when they talked about well, they didn't really talk about it. I think they were hiring for single player level designers and story and all this stuff. Anyway, one of the guys that helped develop Respawn Entertainment left shortly after that, and I think that whole concept and game kind of went with him. Now, if you think about it, this is in July. That means that they probably had something on a board in July. They were hiring people and creating a team, and then when this guy left, it just kind of fell apart and got canceled. So this game never happened. This wasn't something that, hey, they finished it and at the last minute EA came in and said, no, you're not going to do that. Right. So they might not have even had a concept for this thing. But it is. I mean, I would love an Apex Legends single player campaign. I've said that before. I think the characters are fun and interesting, and the gameplay is fun, and why not? But I guess we're not going to get it now.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but Jeff Grubb did tweet. He says, I know that it's been happening. I've been flat out told big games need to get as close to 10 million units sold as possible. Mm-hmm. And that is easier to do with a license. I don't know. To me, that's another check mark in the this is all unsustainable column. But
is this a rumor?
Well, this is what Grubb says, and I feel like, I'm a fan of Splinter Cell, right? And I'm like, how come they're not making a Splinter Cell game? And you look at the series sales of those, and like all the games hover around 5 million units, right? So to me, in my head, it's like, well, it's pretty obvious 5 million is no longer the benchmark of.
Yeah, you can't make your money up with that.
Right. So maybe if they did an Apex cross with Star Wars game, single player game, right?
Sure.
That might do it.
Or and put Disney characters in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next one. Jeff Grubb thinks the low-key February State of Play is coming with a PlayStation showcase hitting before E3.
I agree.
Yeah, that's most likely.
I feel like that's fake insider stuff because that's like all you have to do is look up the cadence of the State of Plays and be like, yeah, we should be hitting one soon, right?
Yeah.
So this is just like a horoscope, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Farmer's Almanac, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something's gonna make you mad tomorrow. Yeah. All right. Insider from Reset Era says that Retro was tasked with doing an asset remake of Metroid Prime 1 while game design positions were left with nothing to do. Namco was doing Prime 4 at one point?
At one point they were, but then Nintendo took them off of it and rebooted it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this says Namco is having difficulties with the level design, so Nintendo
Retro Studios.
Retro is doing it. They were impressed with Retro, so they said, Retro, you have at it with the project.
Yeah, they should, because Retro is the original developer.
Yeah,
I'm
that's very
surprised
likely.
Why the heck would you stop? I guess why would you shift them off of after Metroid
I
Prime
think
3?
they were working on the Donkey Kong games, which also had really high marks. Like Retro's been pretty consistent in their quality, kind of like Respawn.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. All right, so let's go to rumor number 5. Tom Henderson says that a full-fledged standalone Call of Duty is indeed coming in 2023. The Primo expansion idea that was floated about is not happening. You guys excited about this?
No.
You're not, Scott.
No.
You just bought the newest Call of Duty, pretty close to release.
I know, right?
You enjoyed that game.
I still do.
You still do.
So yeah, I don't need a new one.
Okay, you're not frothing at the mouth. You know, we're gonna talk to Scott a month before this game comes out, and he's gonna be like, "Guys, I'm actually interested in it."
No. This is most likely a either it's I just forgot the Black
Hammer?
Ops team. No, there's
Yeah.
Sledgehammer,
Sledgehammer,
and which I think Sledgehammer is not. I don't think they're making a Call of Duty now. I think they're now just kind of a Call of Duty support studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Treyarch is the other studio.
Yeah. I was trying to think of it, but
yeah, I tend to don't like those. I mean, I've just decided that I go back, if you go even Black Ops, it's fine, but everyone that they've made, I just feel like is just
a little subpar.
Yeah, just kind of subpar. Infinity Ward, I like those guys. I like what they do with Modern Warfare, so I'm gonna stick with that.
All right, very nice, very nice. All right, Alan Wake 2 is apparently fully playable, says Remedy CEO Tom, according to Tom Henderson. Alan Wake 2, either of you guys play the first Alan Wake?
A little bit.
Some, yeah.
You know, I like control more.
Flashlight combat was not really a thing.
Yeah, I don't think the gameplay aged very well. But
Yeah,
control
I did like
really
Control. I really liked Control. I finished Control. It was really good.
Yeah, I'd actually consider playing it again. I like Control a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Are they making a sequel to Control?
I believe so.
I think
hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very Fringe, X-Files, kind of weird. I loved it.
It was a great merger of like media or like just like story and gameplay.
I will only play it if the janitor is in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like the janitor.
Yeah, that guy. I love that guy.
There was a horror movie came out about 10 years ago. I think it was called Cabin in the Woods. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember like the end when there's like a big underground labyrinth of like every single monster is like existed in this universe? That was pretty cool. Is Control a little bit like that?
It's kind of like that. Just take the monsters out of it, and if you had a labyrinth of you don't know what's in it, it would be more like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I gotcha.
Yeah, it's very on the earth. It's just on the edge of like letting you know what's going on, but then it doesn't.
Okay.
So almost like the developers are like, yeah, we don't even really know what's going on, the kind of thing.
All right.
But yeah, it's a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And apparently I think that game was a relatively cheap game to make because, we were just talking about 10 million unit sales. That game didn't get 10 million unit sales. I don't think Alan Wake got 10 million unit sales.
No, I don't think it. No.
Right.
It did win Game of the Year 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's more of so more like a Oscar-winning game, where it's like it wins awards, but not a lot of people really play it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. We're almost done with these. This one's a good one. I hope you guys are wearing diapers. Publisher Krafton, who recently helped release the Callisto Protocol, is apparently working on a title named Project Black Budget, which is a Tarkov competitor. Oh, I wish I could. Let me see your faces when I say Tarkov competitor. Let me see them. Okay.
No.
All right. Your face. You both gave me a half smile, so we're gonna turn the half smile into a full smile. Not only are they making Project Black Budget, but they're also making something called Project Gold Rush, which is described as a Fortnite competitor. Guys, let's see them. Let's see those pearly whites. Come on now.
Okay, you go, buddy.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, I mean, maybe it's a different style. Maybe they'll be able to excel at it. Who knows?
Right. I mean, somebody's going to make one eventually, right?
Yeah.
Probably not these guys, but you never know. We'll see.
Isn't Krafton it's the publisher behind PUBG, right?
Yeah, it is.
So it's like that has to be a well-funded publisher at this point.
Yeah,
I would say so. Yeah.
Now, granted, we did just see the Callisto Protocol, right?
Yeah, they lost a ton of money on that. Yeah. So,
all right.
One of those projects may have gotten canceled because of it. We don't know.
Okay. All right.
Who knows?
All right. Well, we blitzed through that rumor section, and now we go to everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. Which
Your favorite segment?
No, everyone's favorite. Big talk for big ideas from big brains with big vocabularies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Boom.
There comes a point. When you say a joke a couple times, it'll be funny, and then you keep repeating it, and it's like not funny, and then at a certain point, you keep repeating it, and it goes back. It gets funny again, right?
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle. All right. So maybe I'll stop introducing the segment that way, but maybe I won't.
No, I like it.
All right.
Keep going.
All right, so who's going to lead us off? You know what? I'm not even asking who's going to lead us off because we know
You're
who's
gonna
gonna
lead us off.
No, I am not going to lead us off. We already talked about this. Scott is going to lead
I
us
don't.
off.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, mine apparently is going to be shorter than I expected because of
Okay.
our first take
Fire.
from Nate. I was playing Titanfall 2 again. Anytime Titanfall 2 comes up, I feel like I got to go back and play the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with Nate on some of the aspects of it, especially playing it again. I haven't played it in years and playing it again. But one thing occurred to me, and I don't remember anybody having a real conversation about this, but this game came out in 2016, critically acclaimed. The multiplayer and the single player, people, there's a large crowd that call it their favorite game ever.
Mm-hmm.
EA, who produced this game and eventually bought Respawn and is now under their umbrella, every other year, every 2 or 3 years, they compete with Call of Duty with Battlefield, right? So that's their competitor. And we can see that Call of Duty also competes with Battlefield. They've added some things that are more Battlefield-like in Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. So why? My idea is I don't know why they didn't take the Titanfall IP and make that their competitor to Call of Duty, because playing it again and looking at the multiplayer, which you can't play now because of DDoS attacks, it's useless. But
and cheaters, yeah.
Yeah, and cheaters, and Respawn has no interest in fixing it. But as looking at the campaign and the multiplayer, I feel like that was their real competitor for Call of Duty. And if they had taken more people and put on making Titanfall better, because when Respawn made this, you got to remember they were not a giant studio; they were a small studio. They were almost like an indie studio, and led by Vince Zampella, which ironically has been taken off. Respawn is now in charge of everything Battlefield.
Yeah.
Who is Vince Zampella? Well, he created a little game called Call of Duty back in 2002. So you've got that formula. You've got those people. Why did this not happen? It just seems like such a missed opportunity for EA to not take that franchise and just, go headfirst into Call of Duty with it. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Can I add that? Did you notice that they're adding Team Deathmatch to Apex for next season? Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe that's part of their idea, right?
His head. Yes, Nate. It's good. It's set on their website. It says their most requested mode, and they're putting it in. So
yeah.
All right. Let me address Scott's point. Whenever we've been hit with 23 Call of Duties over the last 23 years, right?
Right.
I'm not a huge Call of Duty person, but I get the feeling whenever Call of Duty goes a little sci-fi, it seems like the player base kind of rejects it, right? They want boots on the ground, right? So
a fair amount, I feel.
Yeah, so I feel like there's your answer. It's like, I feel like for whatever reason, those types of players don't want a sci-fi setting. They want something that's like Battlefield or Call of Duty.
Well, when they did that, they were cited for being too much like Titanfall.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, because the first one they had, you had this suit that you put on and you could wall walk and wall jump and
It was Advanced Warfare, right?
It was, yeah.
And then Black Ops 3 had a little bit
Black
of it.
Ops 3 had like jetpacks and stuff that were, and you're right, that didn't go over very well with the main Call of Duty crowd.
Right.
I don't think it was because they didn't like Titanfall 2. I think it was just because Titanfall 2 was implemented into Call of Duty, and not done as well. So you might be half right on that.
Okay.
And Titanfall 2 is right. It is a little bit different. That doesn't mean that you can't do different stories within that universe that kind of mimic, having that revamp of Call of Duty every year.
Yeah.
But again, this is all fantasy.
Well,
it never
Scott,
happened. But
let me ask you a question. So, we just listened to the Jeff Grubb tweet where he's like, these games need to hit 10 million to be considered a success, right?
right.
Mhm.
So my head is like, all right, let's say you're a creative director and you're like, we're flying Scott into Respawn and he's gonna save the Titanfall franchise from extinction. Okay.
I can do that. I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But now, Scott, what these the people who are gonna be funding this game, they're gonna say to you, how do we get this franchise to get to 10 million copies? Scott, you're not gonna tell them, well, we're just gonna make Titanfall 2, but like with prettier graphics, right?
No, not at all.
So
No.
so let's hear your pitch. How
Well,
how
you
we start this
can't.
franchise.
You can't do that. That's why I call this a missed opportunity. If you're not going to be able to compete with Call of Duty, well, now that I say that,
I don't.
what
I
if
don't think that's
Titanfall 3 was released next year? And
like in a good window?
yeah, like in a good window, like a month, 2 months before Call of Duty.
Wait, isn't that what happened? It was kind of sandwiched.
No,
Maybe
it got
that
sandwiched.
window.
It was Call of Duty was released on a Tuesday, and then the next Tuesday it was Titanfall, and then on the next Tuesday it was Battlefield.
Yeah.
So and you've heard I've told you my theory that EA picked that date so they wouldn't make as many numbers, so the value of that studio would lower, and they can come in and buy them, which is exactly what they did. But I don't know. That may be giving EA a little bit too much brain credit. But that is exactly what happened. They did come in and that game almost tanked them, and EA said, "Hey, we'll buy you," because they saw the talent. They saw that game was incredible, and then they just let them play around and do whatever they wanted, which was profitable for everybody. But I still think it's a competitor. Something's got to compete with Call of Duty, and it's not Battlefield. I mean, they've proven that with 2042. They're not even trying to compete with Call of Duty anymore. They're trying to compete with Fortnite, which is not very smart, right? Wouldn't you say? I would say it's not. That's not your player base. Yeah. So I don't know. Again, there's no way of telling, but I would say I would wager that if they did make another Titanfall 3 and maybe not make the campaign make it more of a Call of Duty story from beginning to end, revamp the multiplayer, and make it a little bit more accessible. Yeah, I think it would be a competitor.
Thick, we just flew our helicopter out with Scott to save the franchise.
Boom, I just did it.
Scott's gonna turn this franchise. So, Thick, do you feel like his spiel? Do you believe in the franchise now? I don't even know what he said. He said
because I'm flying in with
multiplayer
Scott,
more accessible.
I'm gonna pitch in. I'm gonna pitch in an Apex movie.
Okay.
Okay.
Fix like I'm saying out of the game development. I'll work.
How about a Netflix series?
Yeah,
even better.
Extended universe.
Yeah. And then the byline is Apex Legends, the search for BT.
Yeah. It'll be an AR game.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it ties into Titanfall 3. Boom. Look at this. It just writes itself.
Yeah.
Scott, how come you didn't say this though? So, Thick, as you know, the Legend of Zelda games for 30 years have all sold around 5 to 7 million copies, right? And then the moment it goes open world, it sells 30 million copies. So, Scott, how come you didn't say, like, let's do a Titanfall 3, let's make it open world and open world single player game, a la Far Cry?
That would work, but I don't think it would be a competitor for Call of Duty.
Okay, are you viewing it in terms of the multiplayer?
The multiplayer and single player, yeah.
The total package.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are people, believe it or not, that buy Call of Duty just to play the campaign. Still.
Yeah, no, there are.
Yeah.
I guess I think the reason is like that is such a high production value. That is such a polish. Like they have their formula down. You can't compete with that. Like how do you compete with that machine? Right. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, again, it's just like Fortnite. Fortnite is on top. It's been on top for years. Something's going to come along, and it's gonna be
right,
a byline. Call of Duty, not so much. It's been out a lot longer, but at some point, there's got to be a consistent competitor with Call of Duty. It just has to be. It's just good for competition. It's good for the games themselves. It'll push them to be better. It'll push whoever the competitor is to be better. Right now they don't have a shooter out there that offers what Call of Duty brings you.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a hot prediction right now. Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I've really worked this all through in my brain, but I'm going to say it because we're doing a podcast, so it's better to say things than not say things, right? I think in 5 years, the Call of Duty multiplayer is going to start struggling. And the reason why I say this is I think that time to kill is a detriment to that game's success. So we know, I think Warzone 2.0, that game, it's struggling, right?
Yeah, it's not hitting as well as the first one.
Right. I think as players are used to, I know you guys are Fortnite, as you're used to Fortnite. I just started playing Fortnite again. It's like it's night and day how different those engagements are between the two games.
Yeah.
You never die instantly in Fortnite. In Fortnite, you're always like, there's the team. What should we do? Then your teammate's like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then you think about it, and you're like, oh, okay, let's try that.
Right.
In Call of Duty and in Warzone and in DMZ, you're constantly like, oh, I just got sniped real quick, or I just died in half a second.
Right.
And I feel like over the next 5 years, as a bunch of these gas juggernauts or new gas titles come out, I think Call of Duty is going to start struggling. Did I sell you guys on that?
At some point, at some point it will. I mean, it's not, and I think that may fall into, the AAA market, just like we talked about, just Jeff Grubb saying, you got to make 10 million. You don't make 10 million, you're not going to make that next game. You may not make a game at all. Your studio may get closed. And there's just so much competition now. I mean, go to Steam, go to your, preferred, console and look at their store and look at there's just tons of stuff. I mean, there's just games and games and games and games. And now, games of services are starting to drop because, again, you only have so much time. You can't put any real time into 5, or at least you shouldn't. 5 games of service games, you're going to have to pick like 2 or maybe 3. Right. So if you keep making them, where's the people,
where are they going to come from?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Just like them producing more ET carts for Atari than there were Ataris available. I mean, why would you do that? Yeah. They actually, they did do that. Yeah. It's like, I bought 2. Right. So, yeah. You might be right. It's going to happen at some point.
Well, we'll see. Hey, it's so funny. I feel like 15 years ago, you'd hear in games media, people would talk about Call of Duty fatigue. They're like, I think this next one's going to struggle because people are getting sick of this. And then, 15 years later.
It's a bestseller. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Thick, anything to add there, or should we move on to our next big talk?
I think we're good. I think we've exhausted Apex and Call of Duty right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that for a while.
Yeah. All right, Thick, what is your big philosophical idea you want to bring up to the podcast?
Philosophical idea?
Big. Yeah.
I had something, but I'm going to say something else.
Okay.
Or rather, I want to pose a question.
Oh, I like questions.
Oh, yeah.
He's got some good
questions, doesn't he?
Yeah, I try. Is there any gaming buzzwords that just turns you off? Or
Levolution.
Levolution? Yeah. I like how you had that immediately. Because I would say like 2 of mine is ray tracing, which I don't care about. Right?
I'll agree with that.
And also
the FPS killer.
yeah, exactly. Like I rather have 60 FPS.
Yeah.
And I would say procedurally generated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a gray area.
Thick, when you hear that word in a game's description, you're like you're less interested in the game.
I would say it doesn't pique my interest. It's just it's still the same. Like my heart doesn't skip a beat because I heard that word. Okay. And I guess I bring that up because that's what everyone kind of focused on for No Man's Sky, and I'm like, procedurally generated doesn't mean like
Yeah.
it's a bunch of quality content, and we
Right.
kind of saw that. So
Right.
like I think people psyched themselves out on that game because I was already mild expectations for it.
Hmm.
But
I-
yeah,
I-
what about you, Nate? Well, what?
Well,
is
let me add a little bit to your procedural. What was it? What was the term? Procedural content?
procedurally generated?
Procedural generated.
Yeah.
I feel like this is something I'm actually interested in because I feel like,
Yeah.
you know, Minecraft
RimWorld,
Legends.
right? RimWorld, doesn't that have some sort of procedural generation?
Yeah, it does,
Yeah, I guess
doesn't
you're right. It does. It kind of throws up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the map is all random, and I think it throws random, to a certain extent, random events at
Yeah.
you, right?
I think
Yeah.
I like it, but it's not going to just all of a sudden say, oh, this
not selling
is
you.
Yeah, it's not a selling point.
Right.
That's why I call it a buzzword, right?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I know the new Minecraft Legends is going to have. I think within the PvP modes, it's going to have procedurally generated maps. And I always think that I'm slightly more intrigued by that because the idea of like, okay, I'm gonna play against another player who's played this one map 1,000 times and he knows it like the back of his
Yeah.
hand. I feel like it's more interesting to come to something on an even playing field to a certain extent and like, okay, we need to kind of figure this out at the same time.
In the context of Minecraft Legends, I agree because that's
Yeah.
not just procedurally generated; it's procedurally generated content in a multiplayer aspect, right?
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
that is
That's a
more
little
exciting.
different.
Yeah.
That's a little
Right.
new. Yeah.
Right. I think my two buzzwords when you guys were talking were visceral. Everything is visceral
Visceral.
nowadays. You know me. I'm not a big I'm not a big
Game
big guy
feel
on,
kind of guy.
That's what I was just gonna say. No, gun feel, or is it game feel or gun feel?
Gun. I guess.
It's probably interchangeable.
Yeah. Basically, what they call it is there's a term for it. It's called
Yeah.
juicy feedback, and that's
Juicy
you
feedback.
could put visceral in there or the
Right.
way the gun feels, right? Those are both juicy feedback.
Yeah.
That's the first I've heard that, and that's on my list now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I feel like that's something you like feel right away, and then if you play the game longer than 5 hours, it just bleeds into the background. Like my brain
Yeah.
doesn't really recognize that after a certain point, right? And then the other one is I'm gonna go with teraflops. Now, granted, no
Oh
one's
yeah,
really
I agree.
Oh yeah.
no one's really talking about teraflops anymore. But for a while there, when that's all we had to talk about, it was
Oh
like,
man.
you had to
And
talk
nobody
about
knew
teraflops.
what they were, but they
No
talked
one
about
still
them all
does.
day long. Yeah.
No one
No one
still
knows.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so that's mine. All right, that was those are solid questions there, Thick.
Yes, I like these philosophical questions. So
Yeah. I like the ray
Okay.
tracing one. I totally agree with that one. I'm sick of hearing it.
Yeah. All right, mine real quick. So over on Reset Era, there's a thread titled "Next Gen Only Games. Do you guys expect some truly incredible innovations?" Now, Reset Era is a video game forum, which
Mhm.
you know people like us, we go to it. People who are obsessed with the hobby.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ideally, you'd hope like people who are real believers in the future of the hobby. So that thread title got 221 responses, and let me synthesize the responses for you. Roughly 90% of the responses to that question, do you guys expect some truly incredible innovations? 90% were no.
Yeah.
No, I don't. It's just we're just gonna get to the same more stuff. About I'd say 10% or so were yes, but they don't give any ideas because they're wimps. Not they're wimps, but they're like, you don't take a
Mhm.
gamble. And then
Right.
1% said yes, and they give specific ideas, right? I guess we've talked about this before, but where are you guys at on that?
I'll give you my take real quick. Do you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
believe in Pareto's law? Do you guys know what that is?
Can you
Mm-mm.
explain it to us?
No, I don't.
It's the 80-20 rule. So basically, I would say 20% of developers will create 80% of the innovations.
Oh, I've heard this rule. I've heard
Okay.
the
Yeah.
80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say that, I feel like my brain instantly wants to go, well, it's really the 595 rule.
You could say that. I mean,
Yeah.
but
I think the numbers
idea,
have
right?
shifted over
Yeah.
time a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, I agree with that as well. It's we talked about the next gen, right? So
Right.
we're in this generation, and we're not seeing those generational gaps that we used to, going from number whatever console to the next number whatever console. And I think that will continue. I don't think I think the term next gen and what we anticipate and expect from next gen, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's ray tracing.
Right, it's ray tracing. It's like, oh, that window in that upper room is reflective, but then it's also 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would say no. I would say that I don't think we're going to see any giant leap. Now, also with that, even any console time span, you usually see in about that 4th or 5th year of that console, right on the cusp of them announcing the next one, you see developers really taking advantage of the power that was always there, and producing some stuff that just looks amazing,
Right.
Can you give an example of one from previous gen?
Halo 4 on the 360.
Oh yeah.
When that came out, it was like, what am I playing? This looks like, it should be on the next Xbox.
Yeah, and like the up-res on the next console, it still looked fine. Like they didn't really touch it up.
Yeah, it still looks like it looked like a current gen game. Yeah. So and that was the year before the Xbox One came out. So yeah, we see them kind of squeezing out that stuff, but as far as what people expect as next gen titles, I don't see it. I don't see it really happening.
Scott, to add to your point, so I definitely remember, like, a developer's second or third game in a generation was the game that really stretched the limits of the console. Mm-hmm. Now, because games are 7-year dev cycles, you basically get one shot at the console.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a little disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Well, no, I guess I was just trying to answer that question myself, and I'm like, oh no, I actually think we're gonna get some interesting innovations this generation, right?
So what do you define as innovation? Give an example of what you think of.
So I guess just, I know, Battle Royale was, I feel like, the big design shift of last gen.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree with that. Yeah.
I feel like you just didn't see it on PS2, PS3, or those prior consoles.
And that was like the last, I don't know how many years of the generation, like 5th year.
I think Fortnite came out in 2017.
Yeah.
That is true. That's true. But I guess because you guys know me, I'm a multiplayer gamer, right? Yeah. And my brain goes, like, if you put me in a room, like, I could think of like 100 ideas that, like, we haven't really tried yet, but we're like on the cusp. So I have one to bring up right now that I think I think I can get you to agree upon.
Is this an exclusive to this podcast?
This is an exclusive. This is only for Patreon.
Breaking news. Yeah.
That's right. So right now, this kind of brings up the old Halo talk where, what is the objective in Halo multiplayer? It's click on heads quicker than the heads can click on your head. Mm-hmm. It's just like kill the bad guys before they kill you. And I always feel like the big innovation that we're going to see, hopefully over the next 5 years, is more interesting PvP objectives. So things that are not just like, I have to just go murder you before you murder me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Maybe some trading, or maybe some socializing, or some
extracting, maybe.
Well, or some extracting, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like not everything needs to be like I love the dangerous world. Like, you go in and it's like, you lose all your stuff. Like, I like that idea, but I also like the idea of, like, can we turn that enemy into like a slightly, just like something more interesting than, I hope that guy doesn't shoot me in the head real quick. You know what I mean? Right.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm hoping that's the big innovation we see over the next 5 years. But I know when I think about single player games, I feel like I have a harder time coming up with concepts. I do know I told you guys this before, but I'm like, how come single player games aren't like real time strategy games, in terms of, I'm gonna go mess around with this section of the map, therefore the rest of the map is kind of gonna not form around what you did, but like,
react to it, kind of, right?
React to it, right? I feel like these worlds right now, they don't react to what you do. All it does is, like, it raises a banner and says you've conquered this section of the map, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's essentially what all games do. And I feel like, RTS games do a great job of, I'm gonna go take over that outpost. Let's see if my opponent takes over the outpost after I take it over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll see, but these long dev cycles aren't helping us,
Yeah,
they're not helping. Yeah.
No,
Honestly,
not at all.
When I think about an innovation from at least single player from previous gen, I would say Shadow of Mordor. Like I feel like that the Nemesis system.
Yeah.
I wish we'd see something like that again.
It's
Well,
funny.
they copyrighted it.
Yeah.
Well, Ken Levine's new game. What is it called? Judas.
Judas. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard multiple interviews where he's like, I want to take that concept to like a 10x thing. Like I really want to expound on that
Yeah.
process, right? But that was real interesting because I feel like everyone raved about that system, and then it's like it just died on the vine, right?
Yeah, they didn't do anything else with it. I mean, they the next was it Shadow of War didn't sell really well, didn't launch very well.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, it kind of died with that.
Right.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I agree.
And real quick, what was that system? It was like if you get killed by an AI like lieutenant, remembers it.
They get
They
stronger.
remember it. They get stronger. There's a lot of things that can happen. You can control one too, and you can have it like they could randomly come and help you, or they could revive you. Like it's all like
really?
kind of random. Like yeah, the game's pretty hard, but then like there's these things that happen that just kind of shake things up a whole lot.
Okay. Nice, surprising kind of ways
Yeah,
that they did
yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully that's Ken Levine comes through on that next game. Right.
We'll see. It looks an
We'll see.
awful lot like BioShock.
All the Bioshock.
Yeah.
I know.
We got to see more.
Yeah, we do. Well, guys, I feel like this is the part of the podcast where we get sad because we have to say goodbye. Do you,
Yep.
you feel like
Yep.
that's it? Yeah.
Goodbye.
Now I always put you guys on the spot. I always ask Scott. Scott, how does a listener contact this podcast? How do they interact with us?
Well, if you're on YouTube, comment below. Say hi.
Hello.
And then if you're old-fashioned, just want to send us an email, it is the supplydroppodcast@gmail.com. And, give us something to talk about. Throw us a subject, anything you want us to, argue about.
Yep. Thank you, Scott, for doing all the work
That's right.
for that one. Yeah.
That's right. And if he does it again next week, we're gonna have to throw it to Thick, and Thick's gonna need to give us another
Okay.
quote.
Yeah.
Remember
I'm gonna
we were
have to
doing those
write it
quotes?
on my palm.
That's right. All right, you guys. We'll see everyone 1 week from today on every Monday, right?
Yep.
All right. Adios, guys.
Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right. Go
Oh,
Bills
yeah.
next year.
Go Dragons or whatever it is. I don't know.
I don't know.
The Cougars.